Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. And unless you've been living under a rock the last 3 hours, or haven't been online the last 3 hours, to be fair, because not everybody is chronically online, Delap to Chelsea. That is the situation. The Here We Go is out. Delap has chosen Chelsea. He will be going to Chelsea. He will not be going to Manchester United. And in a sense, I like Delap. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good talent. And I think had we been in a position where we had an experienced striker, Delap would be my first choice second striker. I think for £30 million, you're probably not going to find a better player for less than £30 million than Delap because of that clause. He's Premier League proven. He's a physically good player. He's English. He's a young talent. He ticks the homegrown quota. In that sense, it's a blow. But I don't think missing out on Delap is the end of the world for Manchester United. We've always said we need an experienced striker. Like, I'm happy if we sign Delap. It's an improvement on Højlund. I like the player. I don't think you're going to find a better player for £30 million in terms of the striker position. Jonathan David's available on a 3, obviously, other than that. But it's not the end of the world for United. And us missing out on Delap suggests that we're now going to pursue other targets and now focusing all our attention on Mbeumo. Now, Mbeumo could still go to Newcastle United. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get Mbeumo, but Mbeumo, who's who Man United want to sign next. Mbeumo is the deal we're working on next. We do have other striker alternatives. We will talk about the striker alternatives and United's new plan. So, look, Delap's rejected Man United because he wanted Champions League football. If he rejected us, he didn't want to play for us. We don't want someone that doesn't want to play for us. Chelsea's probably a better move for him in terms of his career, if we're going to be totally honest, because he's not going to be relied upon. He's going to get service. I understand that. You know what? If Chelsea go and sign Ekitike on top of Delap might be looking at thinking, Jackson, Akite, what have I just done? But look, I understand it. Delap has rejected United. That is confirmed, as you can see. This came out early, but we've actually got the Here We Go. It came out about 10 minutes ago in regards to Delap to Chelsea. But I look at it and I go, why? Our new plan could be better. Like, missing out on Delap is a blow. But if it means that we can now go and get Mbeumo and potentially beat Newcastle to Mbeumo, I don't see it as the biggest miss in the world. If it means we're now going to go for another striker, I don't see it as the biggest miss in the world. Like, if Cunha had rejected us, and then Delap had rejected us, and then Mbeumo rejected us, I'd be like, damn. You know, and Mbeumo might still reject us. Newcastle are ahead of us on that deal, and that's something we need to bear in mind. We also gave Newcastle Champions League football, so we might be looking at it thinking, damn, we should have let Villa beat us, or we should have conceded some goals to Villa. But you know, we're going to talk about Gyökeres. We're going to talk about Osimhen. There's talk of an Osimhen-Højlund swap deal. Højlund's in talks with Italian clubs. We're going to talk about all of it, but we're going to talk about the attacking plan. Let me just get my water. One sec. Ouch. My throat is completely dried up, so bear with me while I have a bit of water, and then we'll discuss what United's... Now we've missed out on Delap, what are United reportedly going to do now? I also want to talk about Sekou Kone in today's video, by the way. I want to talk about that. So we'll talk about Sekou Kone later in today's video. We'll talk about Mbeumo. We'll talk about the striker alternatives. We will talk about Garnacho and Napoli talks, ongoing reports coming out with that. Could Garnacho be used in an Osimhen swap deal maybe? Sancho, Chelsea set to send Sancho back. We should get an update on that in the coming days to confirm that, if that is true. Someone asked me about the Espanyol goalkeeper, Joan Garcia. I mean, we're not really in for him. We can't go for Joan Garcia unless we lose Onana. And I say lose Onana, I mean, unless someone wants to buy Onana. So Joan Garcia is right now probably more likely to end up at Newcastle or Manchester City, because Manchester United have basically said, well, we can't buy you unless we sell Onana. And selling Onana might be difficult. Like, it might be difficult. So I think we need Saudi if we're going to sell Onana. Oh, what's going on in the chat? Bear with me a sec, guys. I have no idea what the crowns are, but I think it's a leaderboard. Anyway, big up. Everyone's saying hello, Minna in the chat. Oh, big up Minna. Big up Minna for the raid. Big up to Minna. If you don't follow Minna's channel, go check Minna out, guys. She does loads of great content, not just Manchester United, but other clubs, women's football, European football. Make sure you go and subscribe to Minna if you don't follow her channel, by the way. So big up Minna for the raid. Big up. But yes, let's continue on. So we're going to talk about the Delap rejection. My voice is just gone today. I don't know what it is with my throat. Mbeumo, we seem to be moving for Mbeumo. Delap rejecting us, meaning we get Mbeumo, isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we've got to get Mbeumo. We've got to talk about Newcastle. The alternative strikers, Napoli in talks with Garnacho, Sancho, Sekakone, Mastantuono to PSG, and there is a story actually about Garnacho Leverkusen being interested in Garnacho. I can't find where the stories come from, but I've seen aggregator accounts posting it on Twitter, but I can't find the story, so I don't want to talk about it too much if I can't find the story. But aggregators talking about Ten Hag wanting to buy Garnacho and Anthony off us. So again, that could be one to watch, but I haven't checked to see if that story is legit. But yeah, I think it's come from Kicker, but I haven't found it yet. But then I only gave myself 10 seconds before this live. So Delap isn't coming to Manchester United. I don't think there's a better striker on the market for less than £30 million. It's a blow in terms of now we haven't got Champions League football. We can't afford to spend big on a striker. That is a blow, but it's not the end of the world. What is United's plan now? Now we've missed out on Delap. What is the plan? So, Manchester United's plan now is to push for Bryan Mbeumo, hoping to convince him to join. It was said by the Muppeteers. Their exact words was, I believe that plan A would be trying to push for Mbeumo, try and convince him to join. That doesn't mean that United are still not working on alternative strikers. Now, we've got to remember, many sources have confirmed that United aim to sign 2 number 10s, and Mbeumo is on top of that list as the second number 10 after Cunha. We know that nearly every reliable and good source has said it looks like United's aim is to sign 3 attacking additions, 1 striker, 2 number 10s. Bryan Mbeumo would be one of those 10s. We miss out on Delap. We might not sign a striker straight away. The striker market isn't great. We can't afford Osimhen. We can't afford Gyökeres. We can't afford Akite. We can't afford Tesco. We might look for opportunities. But United are like, we need a striker. But if we can't sign the striker we want, Mbeumo adds 20 goals. Cunha had 16 goals, was it this season, or 15? And Mbeumo has 20 goals. We might not be able to get the striker that we want, but we've just brought in 2 players. One of them got 20 goals this season to come into this club and be in the 10. So at least if we don't get the striker we want, it takes the goal-scoring burden pressure off. Because I will tell you something about Joshua Zirkzee. Joshua Zirkzee may not get goals, but if you pair Joshua Zirkzee with good players and players that do get goals, we know that Joshua Zirkzee is a half-decent player. Rasmus Højlund's got to go. Rasmus Højlund, a Sen All-Stars, was that what, I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. He was getting cooked. He was getting cooked by Malaysian All-Stars. Like, Højlund, for me, you got to send him out for his own good. Zirkzee, we can work with it. The question is, Zirkzee likes runners. Everybody, we've Garnacho and Rashford going. That Cunha's a guy that likes ball to feet. We maybe want some runners around Zirkzee to take advantage of his strengths. But I feel like if you can't get Delap, there's not a striker out there that we can afford that's going to give 20 goals. So why don't we get Mbeumo? That's 20 goals. Sell a few players, then go back in the striker market. Look, I'd look at Jonathan David. I'm not saying that he's the best option out there, but I think considering what he did in the Champions League this season, Ligue 1, I think, is quite a good league. And I know that Ligue 1 is seen as the weakest league. But what I say is, I feel like when we've signed someone from Ligue 1, we've had a lot more success than other leagues. Like, I feel like Serie A hasn't had a good success rate with Man United. La Liga hasn't had, La Liga, I feel like it's different to judge. But I feel like Ligue 1, there's an element of the physicality there. Lenny Yoro's, for me, the most impressive signing that we made in the summer. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's one of those, like, Lenny Yoro and Amad are the only 2 players at Man United that I would just think you can't sell them. Like, Bruno I like, but you could sell him because of his age. Lenny Yoro and Amad, I like the 2 that I look at and I think, yeah, I don't think you can sell them. And Mbeumo, Zirkzee, Cunha front 3. Yeah, like, I feel like that's a goodish front 3. I feel like you want the runners, you want Amad, Dorgu getting up there. I feel like that's a decent front 3. But I feel like Ligue 1 is physical, and that's why I like maybe the idea of Jonathan David. I think Ligue 1 is a physical league. I don't think Mbeumo's going to join. I don't know because there were some reports coming out that personal terms won't be an issue in convincing Mbeumo to join. Apparently it's more that Newcastle have Champions League football, Newcastle are ready to pay up and make the move now, and he's open to going to Newcastle. What, like, we've sort of been told is that he's open to both Newcastle and Man United. But if Newcastle are more put together than Manchester United, which isn't difficult, and make the move early, he might go, well, they got Champions League football. Is it really worth waiting around for Man United? Probably not. I look at Mbeumo and, like, yes, Man United, we can still pull Cunha over Newcastle, over Arsenal, despite finishing 15th. It's crazy our pull, But Cunha could look at it and go, well, he doesn't suit Eddie Howe's system unless Eddie Howe tweaks and plays a 4-2-3-1 and plays Cunha as a 10. He doesn't suit Arsenal's system. He's not a left winger and he's not a traditional striker. He does suit Amarin's system. Whereas Mbeumo will look at it and go, well, I suit Newcastle's system to a T. And Mbeumo is the perfect right wing for Eddie Howe. Like there's nobody that suits that position more than Mbeumo, and he could provide Isak cover if need be. So it will be much harder to get Mbeumo than Cunha because we can't say this left 10 role is the perfect role for you, like we could with Cunha. I mean, the right 10 role is a good role for him, but he's also an incredibly competent right winger. And he'll get to play with, Isak and not Højlund, potentially. So, yeah, like it will be difficult to convince Mbeumo. Definitely. I don't think it's we've got Mbeumo in the bag. I think he could definitely go to Newcastle. But I think if missing out on Delap means we're now pursuing Mbeumo and we've got more chance of getting Mbeumo, that's good. If we miss out on Delap and Mbeumo, it's a blow. But if we miss out on Delap and we do get Mbeumo, then I feel like missing out on Delap's a blessing in disguise. I feel like Delap rejection could, might be a good thing, because if someone said to me, would you rather sign Delap or Mbeumo, despite us needing a striker more than another 10, I would still say Mbeumo. I would. Anyway, what are United's striker alternatives? What are United's reported plans after missing out on Delap? So, it was said here via iPaper Sport. United also targeting Victor Gyökeres and Benjamin Sesko. They're Arsenal's two targets, by the way. The lack of European football could make it harder to convince either player. Sesko, I'm not convinced by Benjamin Sesko at Man United. I'm not going to lie. I think he's a little overrated, but he's better than Højlund. Gyökeres, he's the guy. Gyökeres and Osimhen are the guys. They're the guys I want. Osimhen is going to go to Saudi. He wants the Saudi money. That's pretty much in the bag. I mean, you never know. But if we'd got Champions League football, I think we could have upped the wages we'd offer Osimhen. I think without Champions League football, we are not going to get near the wages he wants. Now, Man United want to walk away from giving high wages like they did with Casemiro. That's part of Ineos. If Ed Woodward was here, I think we would have given Osimhen the wages he wants. If Ed Woodward was here, we would have given Osimhen the wages he wants, because that's how we used to operate. But under Ineos, it's very much like, we're not giving you the wages. We're not having a Casemiro 2.0. So I don't think we're going to get Osimhen. I think Sesko will be difficult. We've always had an interest. I think if Arsenal get Gyökeres, it opens the door for Man United to get Sesko. But we're potentially paying 60, 70 million on another young striker that has similar limitations to Højlund. He's better than Højlund, but he does have similar limitations. And that's the big question mark. Could we afford that? Now, Gyökeres is the one we want. Gyökeres to Man United isn't completely off. We haven't been told this off. We haven't been told he's rejected us. We've just been told without European football, it's harder, but we've not been ruled out of the Gyökeres race. He's not said no to United. It's just believed that it is harder. Now, Arsenal could get Sesko. That could leave us the door open to Gyökeres, and we may be able to get Victor Gyökeres. Romana has confirmed we're interested. Tanzalik said that we are the most advanced of Victor Gyökeres, but losing the Europa League final, it is seen as unlikely that we'll get Gyökeres. Like, it's seen as probably unlikely, but it's there. It's going to be harder. But look, if United ended up getting Mbeumo and Gyökeres, look, I don't think we're going to get Cunha and Mbeumo and Gyökeres, and I'm not saying we will. But if we did, that's a big boost. Not getting Champions League football is hurting you could affect your entire window and season. Thank you very much for the super chat. It could. I said for me, I don't really care about playing in the Champions League next season, because I think we need to focus on our league form. We'd need a bigger squad. There would be injuries. And I knew that we weren't going to do well in the Champions League next season, but I said we need to beat Tottenham because we need Champions League football to be able to do what we want to do in the market. And that is the big problem. It's not about playing in the Champions League. It's about this financial side. And I think you're absolutely right. Big up for the super chat. Thank you very much, Garrett Thomas, for the super chat. I think Eddie Nketiah, Raheem Sterling, or Josh Sargent from Norwich would raise your guys' skill ceiling. Yeah, we're not that bad. We're not that bad, okay? I mean, Nketiah is probably better than Højlund, but we're not that bad. Alex said Delap never made sense for us anyway. We have enough of these young types. It made sense in the sense of it's £30 million. We don't have the funds to go big for a striker because of that, and it's good value for money. But it didn't make sense in the sense of we needed experience. We all knew we needed experience. Like, it's a good option, but it wasn't the guy that was like, he's him. Like, we look at Cunha and that makes so much sense. We look at Mbeumo and that makes so much sense. But we look at Delap and we were like, well, I like him and it's a decent player, but it's not like, oh my God, we have to sign him. It's make or break. Like, Gyökeres makes sense. Well, will we get Gyökeres? Probably not. There is talk of Akite. I think he's Liverpool bound, but Chelsea are interested in him, aren't they? We will talk about that. Delap scored just 2 outfield goals in 5 months. The rest were penalties. Let me have a look. Delap penalty goals. So Delap, how many penalty goals has Delap scored this season? So Delap scored 2 penalties this season in December and January. So he scored 2 penalties this season in December and January. Let me look at Delap's sort of stats. So he scored 2 penalty goals this season. So we got 10 non-penalty goals in a season, Delap, I believe. Yeah, Delap got 10 non-penalty goals in 37 games this season. If we go through his stats, he got he got 2 goals in April. He got 2 goals in February, and then it was the penalty in January. So basically Delap's got 4 non-penalty goals in 2025. He's got 4 non-penalty goals in 2025 in 19 games. I get it to that extent. I guess we could look at it, but he gets no service. But then he would get no service at United. He had that purple patch. At the beginning of the season, the first half of the season, he got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goals in the first half of the season, and he got 5 in the second half. So, and 2 of those were penalties. So I get what people are saying. I was just checking that. Roger Fernandez Braga news. What is there any news on Roger Fernandez? Because I don't think so. I will search that. We haven't been linked to Roger Fernandez for a good 2 months, by the way. I will say that. I do want to get into the next stories, and I want to get into a few updates as well. But yeah, missing out on Delap isn't the end of the world. It's embarrassing because we've missed out on Kenda to Chelsea and then Delap to Chelsea. But we need experience. Big up to Saeed in the chat, guys. Make sure you check out Saeed's channel if you do not follow him already. I'm sure you all know who he is. Mateta is the one. Do you know what? I would take Mateta. He wouldn't have been top of my list, but he's got experience. He's got experience. And I feel like if we miss out on Delap and we end up with Mateta and Mbeumo, we're much better off for it. For me, we're much better off for it. Jonathan David's my ideal pick. But right now, I think Mateta's better than Delap. And if missing out on Delap means we're going to go all out for Mbeumo and increases our chance of getting Mbeumo, I think we're better off for it. I say that now. Missing out on Delap, it's annoying because for £30 million, it's a good player one for the future. Chelsea have stolen 2 of our targets, and they're probably going to use the money they got from Mason Mount playing in the Europa League final to send Sancho back to us, and Chelsea have mugged us off. But we have to look at it. Yeah, Chelsea have mugged us off. Yes, Chelsea have cooked us a bit. But if we end up with Mateta and we end up with Mbeumo, I think that's better. I think that's better because Mateta is probably more proven than Delap. Not probably, he is more proven than Delap. So yeah, I agree with you. I feel like Mateta's probably the one. I do like Evan Nilsson. That might be a rogue shout, but I do like Evan Nilsson as well. That was one of my hear me out shouts, Evan Nilsson. I know he had an injury and all of that, and I know, but look, he wins a lot of penalties as well, actually. And you know what? We needed penalties to get us some points this season because we could not score an open play. He's got, I think, 10 goals. And if you count the penalties, he'd have 10 goals and 6 assists. But he's only got 10 goals and 1 assist in 30 matches. He's one of my rogue shouts as well. But I think Mateta's the better of the 2. He's my hear me out shout. A lot of people talk about Samu. Apparently, he's got a new release clause, though, that's mad. Don't we have a striker in the academy? Look, we've got strikers in the academy, but we do this thing where we expect a striker in the academy to come in and just be amazing at 18, like Lamine Yamal. That's very rare. That's very rare. Like, a striker from the academy might be the guy in 5 years. Like, Cheeto in 3, 4, 5 years could be the guy for us. But we can't go into next season thinking he'll be the guy, and then because he's not the guy next season saying he's crap. Like, I don't expect Cheeto to do much for us for the next 3 years, but we'll see bits of him. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to... For me, strikers take time. I think Mateta will be one to watch. The Muppeteers said that Mateta and Gyökeres are the options if we don't get Delap. Other sources saying Gyökeres and Sesko are the options. I don't see us spending that much money on Sesko. I think Mateta is probably the one to watch. I'm going to check. Someone asked how many goals Mateta's got this season. I will check. He got 14 goals in the Premier League this season, 2 assists. He had a slower start, but once he got scoring, he got scoring. He's 27 years of age, so he's very much in his prime. He will be 28 by the time of next season starts. And he's got 17 goals in all competitions and 4 assists. He's played one game at left wing this season, apparently. But yeah, Mateta's second half of the season was in a good running. So look, it's better than Delap Mateta. It's better than Delap. The question is, with Crystal Palace in Europe, would Crystal Palace want a big fee? That's the big question. That is the big question. I hate Ineos Whiteman looking at midfielders. I agree. We need to look at a midfielder. Look, the priority is attack. We need to get attack sorted first, but we have to look at midfielders. For me, we're not going to get Adam Morton, but we need someone like Adam Morton. We need someone like Belieber. We need someone that can take care of the ball. You know, we need someone. I think Belieber, I like what he brings off the ball as well. We need somebody that can take care of the ball a lot better than a guy, because Edison's very good off the ball, but him and a guy together, I don't like that. Unless you've got some really good progressive wide centre backs, we need someone that takes care of the ball in midfield, 100%. Thank you very much for the super chat. As for striker, we do not need Delap. We can get 2 players far superior than Delap and for less than 15 million. David Promise and Alex Tam are 2 of the United Terminators to look out for. I'm going to Google that. David Promes so he's in the Belgian Pro League, 19 goals in age 23. I don't watch the Belgian Pro League, so I mean, like, there's certain names I know and I'll keep an eye on, but I don't watch the Belgian Pro League, so I couldn't tell you how good he is. Alex Tam has 6 goals in 12 matches in Slovenia. Could be ones to watch. I watched a bit of MLS recently, and there was one of the midfielders I quite liked in MLS, but it's quite hard. It's quite hard to judge MLS compared to the Premier League. But there was a guy in MLS, because I got a friend that supports Vancouver Whitecaps, and I watched like 2 games. I've only watched 2 games, but he's better than our midfield, I'm convinced. He was called Sebastian Berhalter. That was one of my hear me out shouts for midfield. But I mean, he'd apparently be available for £4 million, but probably not ready, like, realistically. Don't think Edison off from Atlanta will come. I mean, he's apparently the midfielder we're pursuing the most, but who knows? Who knows? Vardy, I wouldn't go for Vardy. Vlahovic is on like 300 grand a week. That's what's putting United off him. Victor Boniface could be one to watch. Yeah. Alex Tam looks physical. Again, I don't know much about him. El Canus, I mean, he's very inconsistent. If we were going to go for a rogue option, I'd go with like Malik Tillman. Or, Delap is gone, running out of strikers now. Well, I think Mateta's probably the one to watch. Continuing into other stories, obviously funds. We need to sell to get the funds to do what we need to do. And apparently United are in ongoing discussions with Napoli's sporting director. There's a 50 million fee for Garnacho being explored. We'd have got 60 million for Garnacho had we not been in the position we're in, I think. Or 50 million with add-ons to 60 million. Look, people might not like Garnacho, but I think 50 million is pretty cheap. I think like we've got to have standards like City and Chelsea when it comes to selling, but we're beggars, we're desperate. So teams mug us off. 50 million for Garnacho is being explored. Garnacho open to the move. Napoli showing interest in Garnacho reportedly, so that could be one to watch. Chelsea have interest in Garnacho. Leverkusen apparently have interest in Garnacho according to Kicker, but I need to check that because I've not read the report. Chelsea do. Chelsea might send Sancho back and buy Garnacho, to be fair, but Garnacho I feel like would be better for Chelsea than Sancho. He's more direct, but I'm hoping the fact that Sancho scored, Chelsea will keep him. There's talk about Sekou Kone in his future. He's going to have an opportunity again in Hong Kong. Ruben Amorim likes him, but the club have decided loan is probably the most likely option. But if we don't do anything in midfield and Ruben Amorim's like, keep the guy, he could stay, but I think he's going to go out on loan to probably Swiss club Lausanne is the most likely thing to happen with Sekou Kone. We've been told, according to Jacob Steinberg, that there are indications that Chelsea will be sending Sancho back and not taking up 25 million option to buy. Now, Jacob Steinberg is probably quite a good Chelsea journalist, but he said in May, 2 days before the FA Cup final, that we decided to sack Ten Hag, which apparently was true, but then we had a U-turn because we couldn't get Tuchel, but Ten Hag didn't get sacked. So, look, I think Jacob Steinberg is right. I think Chelsea are going to send back Sancho because the money they get for Mason Mount playing in the Europa League final pretty much means it's only going to cost them £1.2 million to send Sancho back. I know, ridiculous. So I feel like Sancho could be sent back. It's going to cost them like 2 million because we've given them 3.3 million for Mason Mount playing in a final. Yeah, I feel like Sancho will be sent back. Jacob Steinberg suggests as indications he will be. I'm hoping the goal maybe means he could stay, but Sancho's been way too inconsistent at Chelsea. I think for £25 million, that's a good price. I don't think there's many better wingers out there for £25 million, but I think he's not a Premier League guy, Sancho. I feel like he's not a Premier League guy. So it feels like a day of blows. Like we haven't got Delap. Sancho might be sent back. There's now talk of PSG advancing for River Plate's Franco Mastantuono, who's one of our Mbeumo alternatives. It feels like a day of blows to Manchester United, a blow here, a blow there. Ooh, that sounds a bit weird. But I think like if we don't get Mbeumo, that's gonna hurt and that's gonna suck because we like Newcastle were in that race for Mbeumo. We can't act confident that we're gonna get Mbeumo. There's a lot of competition. It's not like Cunha that we knew he wanted to come. If we get Mbeumo, I feel like Delap's a blessing in disguise. If we get Mateta and Mbeumo, that Delap's a blessing in disguise. Even if we miss out on Mastantuono and all these other players, I think if we can get if we can get Mateta, we can get Mbeumo, we can get a good midfielder in, and arguably another wing back. I think we're in a good position. I think we'll be in a much better position next season. We won't need as much depth next season because we're not in Europe as well. We could be better off for those kind of things. Do you think Delap will regret going to Chelsea? I don't know. If Chelsea sign a Kite, I'd be peed off if I was Delap because then he'd become third choice striker. But look, you'll see that at Chelsea he gets service and at Man United he doesn't. It will be easier for him to play for Chelsea, but it might be harder for him to get initial minutes, and that's a judge of his character and that's a judge of mentality. But I think it's a better move for him, to be honest. In terms of midfielders, who would you look at, Alice? I believe I would love. Probably not realistic, so we're probably looking at maybe like a Hayden Hackney. There's a guy I watched some comps of and watched the game of, and I can't remember his name at Reims, sorry, and I think he looked quite good. But again, I've not watched enough of him to go he's good. But I would say if you look in Ligue 1, if you can't get Belieber, which probably won't be able to get, probably won't be able to get Wharton, I'd be looking in Ligue 1. I think Ligue 1 is where I'd look. For players, being honest. What goalkeeper are we looking for? We're not really looking at a goalkeeper until we know what's going to happen with Onana. Like, Onana's been told he can find a new club and Onana's been told he can leave, but letting go of Onana is difficult. However, he is open to Saudi. So us getting a new goalkeeper will depend on Onana to Saudi, but we're going to sell Bayendier and we've got Bayendier alternatives in that sense. And in terms of like selling Bayendier, that we could maybe go someone cheap like Vanja. Yeah. One sec. We could maybe go for someone like Vanja Milinkovic-Savic potentially as a Bayendier replacement to push Onana. But I don't think we're going to be spending big on keeper. Like we need a new keeper, and it's like new keeper's a priority. But like every position's a priority, so it's like how much of a priority is new keeper? The problem is I could watch back so many of our games where Højlund's been invisible and Onana's been crap, and had we had a good striker and had we had a good goalkeeper, maybe we win that game. I think it makes a difference. Do you think we'll go for Eze? I'm not sure. Apparently Spurs are in for Eze again. So that I don't know. They were really linked to him last summer. Cardozo turned down a move to Tottenham and is set to join Atletico Madrid is news coming out as well, actually. Cardozo was a player that we were linked to, but he's set to go to Atletico Madrid. But I don't think we'll go for Eze because he's left side and so is Cunha. Anyway, big up everybody watching today's live show, by the way. It was just a little chit-chat live show about Delap and why it's not the end of the world. Like, for me, Chelsea have cooked us. I'm fed up of players rejecting us for Chelsea, and it's embarrassing in that sense for Ineos. But if we get Mbeumo, it's a blessing in disguise. If we don't get Mbeumo, then we just look like tits. Kendall and Mbeumo Delap, we look like tits. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. Oh. Anyway, wait a sec. Nah. Okay, no, it was a troll. It was a troll. Okay, I just saw something saying that Bayer Leverkusen were going to put a £30 million bid in for Onana, and I was like, surely that's just troll because Ten Hag is at Bayer Leverkusen, but I think it's just a troll. It's just fake news. I was going to say, like, if Bayer Leverkusen are coming in with 30 million for Andre Onana, like Ten Hag could do us some favors, you know. Ten Hag could seriously go out there and do us some favors, couldn't he? But no. No, that was not true. I got all excited there. Oh, I've got a super chat that I missed. Thank you very much for the super chat, Garrett Thomas. thoughts on possible Ramsdale transfers being relegated. I think he's just as bad as Onana. Like, I really do. Like, I wouldn't swap Onana for Sanchez, and I wouldn't swap him for Ramsdale. And I don't rate Onana, but I feel like there's no point replacing Onana with another Onana, another mistake-prone player. He wouldn't, Rance. Okay. There's no point in mistaking a mistake-prone player for a mistake-prone player. Replacing a mistake-prone player for a mistake-prone player. I feel like we want a little bit better at goalkeeper. We don't want to spend big, but I think there's probably better options out there. Anyway, guys, make sure you go over and raid Never a Foul. We're going to wrap up the show here. Big up everyone for watching. See you next time. Bye.